Hi, we're about to build the perfect prompt for ChatGPT if you want to generate content or copy for the web. And we're going to use this framework that I put together for generating prompts, and it features a few applications from Google. Now, it works in two steps. The first step is you have to generate the prompts themselves, and we'll do that relying on Google Forms, Google Sheets, and Google Apps Scripts. The next step is to apply the prompts. That means to implement them into ChatGPT in a serial manner, one after the other, in order to generate the desired result. Okay, so our prompts will be essentially a series of components, and they're going to be generated using a Google form that adds a row to a Google Sheet, and then a Google Apps Script that runs in the background will generate an object that represents the prompt component itself. I know it sounds a little bit complex. It's not as difficult as it sounds. So quick high level, we're going to submit the form, add a row to a spreadsheet, and then generate the prompt object. So here, let's look at this form for an object called product, right? You see here we add the name, we have the type, and then we're just adding values to the form inputs, right? And then once we submit it, we'll get to see how the row is added to the Google Sheet. So if you scroll down, we'll see the last row here. It has all the properties. So let's just take a look at these. Done for you under type, name, digital marketing services. And here is a representation of the serialized object. Okay, so the last row in the spreadsheet or the last column is titled serialization. And in it, this object here gets scripted out. Look at this chunk here. That's going to be the thing that we pass into our ChatGPT to get our final result. So then, as you see, our prompts will be applied one at a time into ChatGPT. Of course, we'll start with training our chat from the very beginning. That'll be the first step. Then it's one prompt, another prompt, till we eventually get the final result. Maybe it's an ebook that we're after, or maybe we're trying to write a script for a video. Whatever it is, we're able to do so. Now, there are a bunch of objects here. So starting with the training, there are about 10 different objects that we're going to have to build, or 9. So resource and post, those are interchangeable. And so we're going to have about 9 objects to build for this entire process. So let's take a look at our training prompt that we intend to use. I have 2 of them here. And I do have a form that allows you to generate a training where you can be as specific as you'd like. But I think this is general enough that it can be fit into any category or niche of content that you'd want to develop, just by filling out the rest of the components accordingly, right? So if you're writing about umbrellas, you don't need to mention that this is about umbrellas in the training. You just need to mention in the training, I want to create or generate a valuable resource about a specific topic. And then later in your brand and your product and your other objects, you will define what it's going to be about. If we look at the way that this is broken down, we have our ask, which is what we will ask of ChatGPT. We want it to generate valuable resource for use by individuals in my niche audience. So here we don't tell it what the niche audience is, so on to the end of that line. And then we set a context, and this is where you tell ChatGPT how you want it to behave or who you want it to be. Essentially, I liken it to roles in ChatGPT. If you use the API, the OpenAI API, so you interface with OpenAI's services via an API interface. If you don't know what that is, it's fine. Like essentially you're doing it programmatically. Instead of using ChatGPT, you might send programmatic web requests. If you do it that way, there's something called a role that you can set. You can also use this when you're creating your own custom GPTs. You can create custom roles and define them. So what we're doing here in the context phase, we are defining a role specifically. This is pretty much identical to what you would do if you were assigning a role the other way or creating a role. So you're telling it you're a marketing professional, you're a content creation expert, and then you talk about the audience here. And you also let it know what you want it to do, how you will behave and interact with it. In this case, I'll provide a structured format for the input data within the constraints. So the constraints here kind of expand on that in order to generate specific and targeted output. If any of the information is incoherent, so then you tell it what to do in case it doesn't understand what you want from it. This is an ode to the perfect prompting framework that I got from Jonathan Mast. I saw a couple of his videos where he talks about this, and I thought it made a lot of sense. And I definitely reference some of it in what I've done here. So in any of the information, if it is incoherent, inconsistent, or confusing, please let me know. And that's the request that we're making within the prompt to ChatGPT. Otherwise, confirm that you understand the following: my request, my constraints, and the models that I'm sending or presenting. So these are the objects that we talked about before. Okay, so then moving on to the constraints. Again, you're letting ChatGPT know exactly what you want to do, how the input will be provided in a serial manner or as a series. Output must be general text or markdown text. That's just the text format. It's basically generally or the typical way that ChatGPT responds is in markdown. So nothing to see here basically. Include code snippets if applicable. And then the models that we're passing are in a format that's called JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. That's just a programmatic style of formatting content that's being sent across the web, so that it's encapsulated in like the form of, an object that can be sent back and forth across the internet. Okay, so anyway, then we wanted to know about the models that are going to be sent and what it can expect. And there's that list that, again, that we saw from before. We're going to send it a brand, a product, or maybe multiple products, a campaign, or perhaps multiple campaigns. For each campaign, a set of objectives. The platform we're going to skip here. We're going to also send nurture target. And then there's a description of each of them. So this one might be a little confusing, and so I'll read it. Nurture target, this alludes to the product that is being targeted by the campaign. So that kind of just ties in the campaign and the product, because there might be several products, and you might, for each campaign, have one or more products, and that ties them together. A lead magnet, so that's the current resource that's being generated. So in this demo and in everything that I'm doing today, I'm trying to generate, as I said, an ebook, and this ebook will be served or given out as a lead magnet, or that's the intended purpose behind it. Right, and then the last two, resource or post, these are interchangeable. In this case, we're trying to build out a resource, and this entire training is the resource training. So post might not be necessary here, but the resource describes the current resource itself with its specific details. So we're going to go through this entire series, and then when we get to the resource, we're actually going to get a response from ChatGPT for what the resource is expected to look like, and you'll see in this demo. Then the resource itself will be requested in chunks. So it's not going to be one request for an entire resource. Let's say an ebook, because that's a big thing. You don't want ChatGPT to just generate off of one prompt an entire ebook. You want to have, again, more control. That's the whole point of this whole thing. All right, so now we will actually apply the process. we've already applied the training, and so we've got the training object. So we're going to start developing the rest of them. Okay, so here, starting with the brand. This is a list of all the forms. We just pop open the brand form. Just got to fill this baby out. So we're gonna have a little fun with this. We're creating a brand called Corn Chops, all right, that sells acorns to squirrels, right? So our market is hungry squirrels. Let's talk about this description here. We want to sell acorns to squirrels, specifically hungry squirrels. And so, yeah, just having a little bit of fun with it. And we see our row. We see in the brands table, we've got our Corn Chops row with the domain name there, cornchops.com, industries, the market of hungry squirrels, and then the description. Also, there's a serialized object there at the end. And we're just going to kind of go quickly through this. If you missed the serialization, don't worry, you'll see it in the next example. So now we're creating a product with that same brand, Corn Chops. It's going to be called Tasty Acorn Zingers, and type, well, I don't know, maybe processed food snacks. Let's see if we can give it a description. Delicious savory snack made from high quality wild acorns. There we go. All right, so let's submit that, and let's go on to the spreadsheet again. Actually, let's add another product. My apologies. We're going to add another one. So I forgot, we have 2 or 3, right? So just because it makes sense. So now we've got prepared acorn-based meals. And we're going to add a type of TV dinners. That's right. And the description, delicious acorn-based, ready to microwave, quick and fast. There you go. Makes the squirrel happy. And so if you look at our products table, we've got a couple rows here. 3 of them, in fact. Fresh acorn bundles, that's fresh produce, tasty acorn zingers, and prepared acorn-based meals. And look at the serializations, 1, 2, and 3. It's a JSON-styled object. And you can tell by those like squiggly brackets, a bunch of quotation marks. Don't worry too much about that. If you understand it, that's good. Otherwise, you don't have to stress about it. You just know that the training already informs ChatGPT to expect this format. And so all you have to do is, you just got to make sure that you supply the right values to the form, because it will generate that product, that result based on what you supply to the form. And so you got to make sure that you tell it what you wanted to tell it in that portion. All right. So a campaign for Corn Chops. Generate familiarity with our core audience. We want to produce valuable content for the consumption of our audience in order to build a sense of authority and earn respect among our competitions or amongst our competitors. Submit that. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and check the table or the spreadsheet. Okay, this is our campaign spreadsheet. We've got another one under the brand of Corn Chops. Generate familiarity with our core audience. Yep. In the description, as we stated earlier. And here we have our serialization. All right, same thing. JSON style or JSON format. Okay, so campaign objective. We do the same thing. Okay. Pop the form, and then we're going to just fill that out. We should probably have at least 2 of these so that it makes sense. With a campaign, you'd want to have maybe several objectives. Now let's talk about this actually. We want to generate leads, and we have to give it a measurable. So add leads into our funnel, and we said 1,000. That was the measurable. So we want to get 1,000 leads. Let's talk about this one closely. So we skipped ahead, but basically there are 2 campaign objectives. One is to get leads, the other is to get 100 customers out of those leads. And we've got our serializations there in the last column. All right, that's a pretty high ratio there, but this is all fictional, so it doesn't matter. I wish I can get 100 customers for each 1,000 leads. That'd be amazing. All right. So then we go on and we create our nurture target. And so that's what links, again, that's the product that we're going to target with this nurture campaign. So generate familiarity with our core audience, that's the campaign. We selected a few products here higher up in the list, and we just give it a description. So what is this associated with? It's an Acorn cookbook that we're going to try to generate. It's a PDF, ebook, whatever you want to call it. Submit that. Okay, so without spending too much time going one for each component, let's take a look at our objects that we've made so far. Okay, so we started with the training and we saw what that looked like. It was this humongous thing. Then we will take a look at our brand object that was created, and here it goes with the name, Corn Chomps, the URL, as saw earlier. These are all the things that we added to the form, and this was the serialized result that we got, and this is what we're gonna put into the ChatGPT prompt. Products, we made 3 of them. You see there, fresh acorn bundles is the first one, tasty acorn zingers, and then prepared acorn-based meals is the third one. Nice. Campaigns, right? This is our main campaign, generate familiarity with our core audience. We want to produce valuable content for the consumption of our audience, and so on. Then our campaign objectives, we've got 2 of them. Again, it references the campaign itself, and then a name for each objective, add leads to our funnel. The second one is, to earn product purchases based on our expected ratio of leads to converting customers, which is 10%. We want to generate purchases of our marketed products. And the success measure for that is 100 out of the 1,000, target leads that we want to grab in this campaign. Pretty cool. And then nurture target here. Again, so if you look at the product section here, if you remember, that was a multi-select component in the form for the nurture target. So we've got the acorn bundles, the tasty zingers, and the prepared meals. So all 3 products were selected in for this particular nurture target. We could have selected one, or however, depending on whatever you wanted to do. Here we chose all 3. Generate familiarity, that's the campaign. So this nurture target has a name. It's called the Acorn Cookbook. We want to familiarize our target audience with our brand and value that is within it, and we'll do this by providing them with valuable assets that incorporate our wonderful products and branded way of doing things. Nice. On to our lead magnet. And so it references the nurture target from earlier. Its name is Downloadable Acorn Cookbook. The type of it is a downloadable PDF ebook. And there we have our description. It's a free resource intended to build interest in our brand and generate leads. On to the end of that. And so far, so good. And we're going to move past the lead magnet objectives. We won't be establishing that. And just using the same methodology, we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes of this whole thing, and that's the resource. We're going to develop that. Just go back to that forms links sheet and then find the form for a resource. Let's fill it out. Choose which prompt we're going to use, the campaign and the lead magnet. Now for the details, it's going to be pretty deep. So what this entails is a lot of instructions for how we want our ebook to look and be outlined. In fact, we are telling it how this entire prompting process will go. So instead of one prompt for a resource, we're telling it that we want an outline, and then we will resupply it with prompts seeking portions of that outline. But here we see the record or the row in our spreadsheet. It's details, we've got the serialization. Now look at that thing, it's huge. But we'll talk a little bit more about that now. Okay, now I do want to shed light on the resource details property. that we filled out in that form and that we got. So it was part of that whole big chunk of information, but it needs a little bit of a deep dive because it includes some additional instructions for ChatGPT on how to act going forward from that point on. So if we recap, we started with our training, and then the training, after which we created a series of objects to submit as prompts, right? Going from brand to product to campaigns, so on. And resource is the last one, but within resource, we're going to actually attach or add additional instructions for ChatGPT on how to act from this point going forward. And so I kind of highlighted some of it here. So with this request, this is the first part of the resource. We're asking it to give us not the entire resource, which is the ebook we want. Rather, we want a detailed outline for our resource, right? I'll provide a simplistic outline, and then you may expand upon it. So we want ChatGPT to use a basic outline that we can provide in this example. And then ChatGPT can expand it with further details, up to 2 layers of depth. It's fine. I will submit a series of prompts that will extract sections of the outline. So after we get that outline, so following that, we will submit a series of prompts that will request verbosity or more details for every part of the outline, one section at a time, okay? And generate verbose details for each section. And then here at the bottom, you see a simple outline that we talked about. And so it has 3 points here: general guide to the history of cooking with acorns, special tips and techniques or best practices for preparing acorn meals, 10 amazing acorn meal recipes. So this is like a simple outline. We want ChatGPT to use this as a guide and expand upon it to give us a more detailed and complete outline, up to 2 layers of depth, and so on and so forth. So that concludes it here. And as you saw, we took care of the first step, which is generating the prompts using all these wonderful services from Google. And we're going to then apply them in the next video. I'm going to make another one following this one, in which we take all these objects that we built and we're just going to implement them one after the other into ChatGPT and just generate our wonderful resource that we're after. And so that's it. There you have it. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, clarifications. I hope this wasn't too hard to follow. I will make some other follow-ups and some more simplified videos as well. But in the meantime, y'all take care and talk to you soon.